It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Here we are. We made it.
We're here.
He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here, Vinny.
Thank
you. You know, I might have been able to. Well, I could have skated the 7 miles to the tollway quicker than I drove.
You were telling me it took you like 30 minutes to
go
7
miles. Yeah. And it was just and there's a lot of quick turns and downhill and uphill. It's like probably about 10 miles an hour, and I hit every single light. Now, understand, hitting every single light, that 7 miles, can be an extra 10 to 13 minutes.
I also ignored every single light on the way in. I mean, hit every single light on the way in. No, I that was the one spot where I'm coming up and the light was green, and there's a car on this other road that's, when my light turns red and his turns green, he's coming out, and I'm thinking, all right, don't let this be squirrely. Don't, you know what I mean? And I still had like most of a block to go on ice. And I'm like, all right, I'll just play it. And I just came off of the gas, slowed down. I was slowing down as if it was going to turn red, and it didn't. And that was the only squirrely spot. I only live a couple of miles from the studio, so my wife and I had to get out of the house yesterday. She's like, it's driving me crazy. We got to go somewhere. I said, yeah, I want to go check the roads. So we got in the truck and drove around. It was getting better. That was daylight. Everything changes when it gets dark again, because the glaze, it was all, most of the top layer in the interior roads was, in our neighborhood, was sleet. So it's gravelly, a little more of a grip. That's the case on my sidewalk still. Well, you start driving on it, and then it melts again. And that's what you get.
Or the melting yesterday, because it did.
Yeah.
I could see the top layer of the pellets freezing, which then they were no longer pellets when I came into work.
Yeah, exactly. That was my point. I think I said it melts again. It freezes again. But if, you go to the highways. We got on one of the highways, and I started seeing plows, and they were out. They weren't really out in full force. I don't know about Sunday. I don't know how many plows were available. I don't know how many are assigned to this area. I think they bring them in from the Panhandle. And, of course, in the Panhandle, they had a job to do out there. But when we got out on Monday, I saw plows a few plows.
Well, it was this afternoon or yesterday afternoon when I said, okay, before I check in with Eric and Alan lives so far out, he didn't even try to come in tonight.
Yeah,
he's got a lot.
On a normal drive, I think he's 45 minutes.
Yeah, so we hope he's doing okay. But I gave it an extra hour and a half, and it took me 53 minutes to get in where it normally takes about 33. So an extra 20 minutes, like I said, and it was the 7 miles. Tollway was fine. They must have put the brine down, and the sunshine that came out late yesterday afternoon made it so there wasn't on any bridge any black ice at all. So it's all dry.
That's where I saw two of the plows is on that tollway. I only did a stretch so I could check it out for you, and they had two plows working 11 a.m. yesterday.
And thank you for that, because I was looking for cameras on the tollway. I found them everywhere else. I couldn't find cameras for the tollway.
Not TxDOT controlled. Yeah.
So I couldn't find it. Yeah,
it's the Dallas North Texas Toll Authority.
I even went to the North Texas Tollway. They go, we've got dozens and dozens of cameras. Well, I couldn't find it available to the public.
Yeah,
and I didn't look for that in the longest time. But when I got out, I was like, it was so thick on my residential road, and then I went to the secondary roads, because it's residential secondary than the main, and completely ice covered. And then I got to the main road that takes me, to the tollway, 7 miles, and that was like 95% ice. And I texted you and said, it's 95% ice, but when it freezes, it's going to be back to 100% ice. I don't know. And then you called me and said, the tollway's okay if you want to take the tollway. And it was fine. I could have gone, I probably could have gone 70 miles an hour, which is the speed limit. Okay, 73 miles an hour. But I was still afraid because I don't care how.
The one spot and then you're sideways.
And it was about 95. The whole way was about 95% clear.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that extra 5%, you hit a little bit of ice, you're gone if you're going 70. So I probably did about 50, 55. And most people were doing that. Coming in, a few idiots went by, and I was looking in Arlington at this one car. It was just a couple of hours ago. And I don't live far from Arlington, and this car is coming down the hill. It's spinning all the way down. I'm like, wow, there are some people that just don't know how to drive. But
on 196 in Michigan last week, 200-plus cars, Michigan.
I saw that,
Michigan knows how to drive on ice. You can make that argument, but you just don't know what's going to happen in a moment. That's what I always tell my kids, and now the 4 grandkids that drive. Look, you have to watch out for the other guy. It's, you may be a great driver, but you've got to watch out for the other person because they may not see you and they're coming over, or they may not be looking for you in the first place. And they're coming over and, you've got to watch what their head's doing and everything else if you can see it from your vantage point. There's a lot you can learn from truck drivers. I'm thinking about sending my granddaughters on the road with truckers, but for 2 weeks at a time. But it's a great education because a lot of truck drivers will tell you because, they're doing that 11 hours a day in pretty much every major city if they've been around for a while. I don't know. I saw watching some of the state cameras, you see those big rigs out there. They got to keep rolling if they can. I only remember one ice storm. I'm sure it happened in other times, but I do remember specifically one ice storm here in this area. I-30 became a parking lot that was nothing but big rigs. And this was years ago. It was before you were part of the show. And it was the first time we had said, look, we don't think we can, do a live show tonight because and that night, the next morning, local news had people on the phone, that had called into the local news station that had been trapped in their car all night and the whole thing. It was bad. And then I-30, a stretch of I-30 was a parking lot, and it was mostly big rigs. But I don't know how they keep rolling. I really don't. It's crazy. But I saw a few of them on the cameras as I was monitoring TxDOT cameras. But we're here, and we're expected. We will get some warmer weather, melting weather, real melting weather later on Tuesday. So,
and I haven't been dismissed yet. My jury duty was changed. Thank goodness. I mean, if they're going to do it, that's the time to do it. Wednesday at 1:00.
Yeah.
Now, I could still get dismissed today, or they might move it back because I don't think a lot of people thought that we were going to be off Tuesday, too.
Well,
schools are closed. Everything's closed.
Everything's
Tuesday.
Closed
for today. Yeah,
it's my wife's company they're doing work from home. That all that. It's funny because my son actually has a work from home job full time. It's work from home, and so I was like, "You feel cheated?"
You can't take off.
That's right. But it's. We had a Linda wanted to know, one of our great listeners, hey, what happened to your broadcast / tool closet? Your broadcast room / tool closet from back in COVID. That's how long Linda's been listening. And no, that was temporary, and unfortunately, neither of us have the ability to broadcast from home. And if we did, we don't have here and we don't have anybody here at the central location at the studio to get it.
Yeah,
get it
that's the problem.
Yeah.
But let me see what else. So 1 o'clock Wednesday is when I'm supposed to be in. So I would still be here tomorrow because I could still go home, go to sleep. It would be, Thursday or Friday, but I'm still hoping to get dismissed or just they're probably going to. I bet you they delay it again.
They might, because like you said, the
Tuesday.
This happening with COVID, and it was crazy. It finally made the news. My nephew is a cop, and he was telling me it was so crazy with, the court dates that were just, pushed back. So many cases were pushed back at, further and further and further during COVID. But inclement weather definitely will do that as well here in Texas,
because
North Texas.
New people coming in every day. And
because they've got a jury pool already assigned for those dates. And I wonder if that's why you were put on the afternoon watch for Wednesday instead of the morning watch.
To not have to drive in drive time to Fort Worth?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a big deal.
To be able to do that at 11:30, to take off at 11:30 and go in.
And
the traffic is nothing at that time.
And another thing, too, is another thing is that you've got the biggest thing for schools, municipal buildings and everything else, businesses, you've got to clear your parking lot and your sidewalks that lead to the door. If they have steps, all that has to be cleared, because otherwise you've got a major liability waiting to happen. So if the roads could be much better, if they don't have the sidewalks and everything cleared, then they'll close a school, they'll close a municipal building, just out of an abundance of caution.
One more point. I have the unluckiest luck.
Yeah.
Of anybody.
Yeah.
There I am Saturday. I open up the freezer of my refrigerator. It's dripping.
Whoa.
My refrigerator died.
Oh, man.
But isn't it the most perfect time? I still have stuff out in the cooler in the backyard. From my freezer, in the backyard in this big you can't get into it. Even an animal wouldn't be able to get into this big cooler I have.
Yeah.
And then I have in my garage, which never gets to freezing, it probably was 37, 38 degrees. Everything that goes in the refrigerator is in my garage.
Perfect.
So the new refrigerator being delivered,
Eagle Scout 101.
Yes,
you went to work.
Being delivered sometime today.
There you go.
Is what they say.
Yeah.
Hopefully, because if it's not today, it's going to be. Well, guys, you're going to have to wait till Saturday because I don't know what my jury duty schedule might be.
Yeah. Well, the only time recently that's happened, I woke up where my refrigerator went out. Thanksgiving morning a few years ago. Like, are you kidding me? Now, on the upside, I was going to cook most of the things in my fridge anyway that morning because that's how I learned it. Got up really early to start cooking, and also Black Friday deals on refrigerators. So,
well, for me, it had gone out a couple of weeks ago, and then came back on again.
You said it was like decades old. How old is it?
26 years old.
26 years old.
Yeah. So it went out a couple of weeks ago. The ice maker doesn't work well. That's intermittent. The filtered water doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And then this is the second time that it went out. But after about 16 hours, I just kept it plugged in. It started up again.
Wow.
So if they don't pick it up,
wow.
If they don't pick it up in the if they're not able to deliver later on today, I'm just going to tell them Saturday. And right now it's working, so I'm not going to touch anything. Put everything back in again for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But the fact is there's not much to put in because I ended up cleaning everything out of it that I didn't want.
Perfect. Yeah, give you something to do. Man, I did so much cleaning.
Oh, so did I. That's
organizing.
all I did.
I cooked breakfast on Sunday morning, which I usually don't have time to do. But I had plenty of time. I thought, it doesn't matter what's on the Sunday shows. I'll catch up later. So I got up and made a big breakfast on Sunday morning.
The Red Eye Radio maid service.
That's right.
I'm telling you. I
was going to work. Yeah.
Let me see. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 rooms absolutely spotless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm supposed to have some visitors President's Day weekend. I'm like, I got to clean the house. I'm like, I'm too late. The refrigerator goes. I get into cleaning mode for like 3 days.
Are Bill and Barack coming by? Is it gonna have a big president? We're going to have a President's Day party. So
well, since
I can ignore the subpoena.
Since the Love Fest is going on, maybe waltz and fry.
Yeah, exactly.
I will tell you though, when you and I, because I was like, oh, Eric, it's like, and you said no, the tollway's fine. I said, well, I can make it then. I can go the 7 miles on the ice at 10 miles an hour. That'd be great. But if it takes me 3-4 hours to get to work, I don't know. And then when you said the tollway's fine, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm in, and I said, thank God, because my mind was busting, and I thought to start the show today, we start where we are right now and then move back. Because
we've got so much to cover.
Because it's like, the thing about social media is there's a million arguments when anything happens, like what happened, the man being shot in Minneapolis. There's so many sidebars that it's just like it's being thrown at you, and you have to go, well, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That doesn't. It's something to talk about, but it doesn't matter for the case. That doesn't matter for the case.
Well, it was almost like the Trayvon case, back in the day. And it was like, whoa. What matters is that moment that this occurred.
Right.
It comes down to that. What were the circumstances in that moment regarding the death?
There's a lot of ethical stories.
Oh, you can talk about what you should and shouldn't do leading up to that point. That's, those debates and points seem to, in the court of public opinion, strike that gavel quite a bit over that story. There's a lot of video. And then, the questions about Pretti and his gun, and why do you take a gun, and the whole thing, and he's licensed to carry, didn't have a record. So, again, we get down to that moment, what happened in that moment, and there's a lot to unpack with that.
And we'll start it coming up next. We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller. At a roadside inspection, inspectors may ask to see supporting documents. These documents can include bills of lading, itineraries, schedules, or equivalent documents that indicate the origin and destination of each trip. They can also include dispatch or trip records, expense receipts related to on-duty/not driving periods, electronic mobile communication transmitted through a fleet management system, and payroll records, settlement sheets, or equivalent documents that indicate payment to a driver. Drivers using paper logs must also keep toll receipts. Supporting documents must contain the driver's name, carrier-assigned identification number, or vehicle unit number that can be linked to the driver, the date, the name of the nearest city, town, or village, and the time. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, starting from what happened yesterday, Tom Homan, it looks like, is going to be in charge of what goes on in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Bovino and Noem, whether they're going to be sidelined by the administration is still to be seen. You and I played him about 10 days ago.
Yeah.
After I forgot her name, the woman that was killed. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When after it. And when Homan was asked over and over again, is this domestic terrorism? He goes, I don't know, and I'm not going to go there.
Right.
And so we'll get to that, because I think that putting Homan in, I agree with that move completely.
Yeah.
And we'll investigate that more coming up here.
Catch Red Eye Radio live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. He's Eric. I'm Gary. Hi.
Hello.
Looks like Tom Homan's going to be in charge of things in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
What's going to, Bovino, again, source stories already saying he's basically out, and Noem could be next.
Right.
Or at least sidelined. I was reading the article yesterday, and I couldn't find it, but it was just talking about Noem and everything else. And the last line of the article was, where's Tulsi Gabbard?
Yeah.
Just showing how people in the administration, they're trying to make the point, how people in the administration, if you're sidelined, nobody hears from you.
Right.
She's director of national intelligence. You don't hear anything from her at all.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Right.
Well, and she wasn't part of the Venezuela thing, was she? Now, they said, well, she just happened to be out of town.
Right. She happened to be on vacation or in Hawaii or wherever she was.
That didn't cut it.
Yeah. You're never really, as D&I, you're never on vacation. But.
But when you look at Homan, and we had said when Kristi Noem was saying that Good was a domestic terrorist, he was interviewed and said, I can't say that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You need him in there.
Yeah.
What you have, and one of the things that we've said, and we've been criticized for it, but this is another example. You can look at, I almost said Bongino. Bondi.
I know. I keep seeing Bongino instead of Bovino.
Pam Bondi,
mm-hmm.
and the Trump himself.
Yeah.
The communication of when you become president has to be different than the communication of when you're running for president.
Yes.
The entire thing here on illegal immigrants, once you get into office, your goal has to be to convince independents that your policy is the right policy.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't to slam dunk in order to get a win with your solid, loyal base, or what you believe is your solid, loyal base.
Right.
That's what I believe Noem, under her authority, Noem was doing. Homan wouldn't have anything to do with it. As you can see, you and I played the interviews. He said, listen to him. He's not taking that. He's a guy who gets things done.
Well, and to that point, there's a Wall Street Journal article about how it came to be that the 48 hours that convinced Trump to change course in Minnesota, again from the Wall Street Journal. But basically, they point out that Noem and Lewandowski have pushed for missions that include roving patrols for ICE and doing street sweeps in large cities, liberal cities, as they point out. Homan and others favored a more methodical but slower approach to go after immigrants with criminal histories or final deportation orders. And
that's what Homan has always sense. Homan has always said that.
Right.
We do that first.
Right.
And then we go elsewhere.
Right.
And so Homan looks like the right move. I think he probably should have had more authority to begin with than he had.
Yeah.
But it's jumping on something when you don't know the facts.
Right. Yeah.
When Noem was saying that, this was somebody who was looking for mass casualties.
Yeah. Right.
In the incident on Saturday, there was no evidence of that at all.
Yeah, and Bovino made similar comments.
Right. There's no, and when you get involved in that, you're playing politics.
Right. Yeah.
At that point, you're playing politics, and that's why even when she had said about Good a few weeks ago, a domestic terrorist, Homan's not going to take that, because as somebody who you're a professional at it. You look at it professionally. You say, we're going to look into it, but these are illegal immigrant criminals, and here they are. Here's this. I really believe that if Homan was in charge, every single operation, they would tell the person that they're looking at what they have done and why they're going after them.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is, we know the problem with the left. We've gone through that over and over and over again. And, the entire Andy Ngo is the one that came up with, I think he's the first one, or was it Christopher Rufo that came out with the story of the, the signal chats and how well organized this disruption of law enforcement is.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And how organized and how, what do you call it when something's encoded? When they encode the messages. They encode the messages. Encrypted.
Yeah.
They encrypted all the encrypted messages back and forth.
Right.
The fact of don't say anything here that can be possibly used, that we're trying to break the law whatsoever.
Right.
But our goal is to disrupt, their activities going on. Number one, the president should have known that this was going to happen. The president should have known. At times, I'm always pretty amazed at this president who has, if anyone should have knowledge on what the left will do to defeat him, at times he still goes into these things like, well, no, nobody's going to really bother us on this, or this isn't going to be a... And then, boom! And so Homan has always said, look, we need to go after, and we understand the left doesn't want to go after illegal immigrant criminals. They don't want to go after illegal immigrants in the country with deportation orders, and they don't want to go after illegal immigrants that are in the country that don't have a deportation order yet. They don't want to go after anybody. And so it's like, what can you sell to the American public?
Right.
Can you sell to them? And, there's more research going on based on the statistics from Homeland Security that, in the beginning it was 70%, 70-80% illegal immigrant criminals that they were getting. Now it's about 55% or 50%. It's gone down drastically since. Others get caught up in it, but also they're out looking for it. Now, as we said last week, it's what the public wanted. The public wanted it back then. The public, CNN actually, I think, was running the actual numbers, and it was just looking at here. Here it is. Deport all immigrants here illegally. New York Times survey back last year, 55%. Marquette poll, 64%. CBS News, 57%. ABC News, 56%. That's all illegal immigrants here, that are here.
Those numbers on that issue constitute a mandate.
Right. You would look at that and say that's what the public wants.
Yep.
We knew that wasn't going to be the case. We know it's like sort of the debt. Yeah, I'm for getting rid of the debt. Get rid of the debt. Get rid of the debt. How do we do that? Increase spending for everything except foreign aid. But we knew that, and I believe the left knew that if they created enough violence, if they could get martyrs, that then there would be a ton of independents out there saying, we really don't like what's going on here. Homan, if you noticed, Homan always talked about those were deportation orders and illegal immigrant criminals.
Right.
And if you look at the statistics of how he was going, that was his goal. Now, I did see a whole bunch of other, people come up and say, okay, how do you de-escalate this? And we knew it would get, we said it last week, this isn't ending yet. It's going to get worse. And it did. And a lot of things saying, well, you can use now with AI, you can use facial technology. You can find people that are in the country. You can find people that have come in. You can do a ton of stuff and just go after them individually. The problem is, and this is something that you and I talked about, why is it? Think about how big, for example, Minneapolis is, or Dallas is, or anything else. Why is it so well known where ICE is going to be or the Border Patrol is going to be? Why can't those things be, and it's a question, it's not an allegation. Why can't they be a lot more quiet?
Well,
I bet you that's something that Homan is thinking.
There and I was thinking that over the weekend. I've been thinking that for a while. I have friends that are former DEA, ATF, that have worked undercover pretty much all their career. And when you're undercover, you can't be exposed in the least. You're in danger if somebody reveals you. If your cover is blown, then it's over for you. It actually happened to somebody I know when they were doing a good deed, assisting local police, and then all of a sudden, they want to that city wanted to give him a thank you, and then his undercover work was done. It was over. But you look at the operations. If you have, and again, we don't know because so far it's just what the president said, and we don't know how far it would go. But in the call with Walz, there was talk of pulling ICE back a little bit from the federal level, increasing cooperation on the state level in Minnesota from Walz's perspective. I'll believe that part of it when I see it. I don't believe that. I right now don't believe that is going to be the case. But what can you control? What can this administration control? And that is, of course, how they're going to go in, whether you're going to do sweeping patrols or not. Clearly, after this, it's not a good idea for a couple of reasons. You're putting those agents in harm's way. We do know that, and while it may not include Pretti, who was shot over the weekend, we do know others want to target ICE.
Yes.
And there have been shootings targeting ICE. So we know that has happened. And if you're doing these sweeping patrols, you're putting those agents out there. And while they may have protective gear, and, they know what they've signed up for, and that's all great. But are you creating unnecessary risk as opposed to a more targeted approach that Tom Homan would be behind? And I also wondered, I don't know Bovino at all. I do know the former chief. I went to high school with him.
Yes.
I haven't talked to him. I know
but he did not get involved in the politics of it as much as Bovino did.
He didn't. He would talk about policy.
Right.
And he even, at the end of it, this Raul Ortiz, the former chief of the Border Patrol from Del Rio, Texas, went to high school with him. And he would talk in terms of, a lot like what Tom Homan does. And I will say this, my judgment, I wasn't an agent. My judgment is, though, as a citizen, is that Raul Ortiz, is or was, he's retired now, an agent's agent. Now, he got some pushback from some of the agents, and that was a problem during I don't think this was Trump's first term. I think Biden was already in office. There was a lot going on. He did a visit to the Del Rio sector, and there was a lot of questions about what was going on. And the policy was impossible from the administration, from the Biden. It was during the Biden years. And so that's the problem that you run into, is that if you've got a personality that wants to come out, and again, I don't know Bovino, but if you've got a personality that wants to come out and take this one approach, and they're hell-bent on that approach, you've got to ask yourself as commander-in-chief, as the president, what is working and what isn't.
We are Red Eye Radio.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And so yeah, when I look at this, and this is just again because Homan was put in, and Homan was put in for a reason. It's how, number one, he gets the job done. Number two, what his focus is. Number three, how he operates as a professional and doesn't jump in the argument.
Right.
Because what happens is when you had even Noem come out and say Good was a domestic terrorist, what does the media focus on? Was this woman a domestic terrorist versus what is normally a domestic terrorist? You get away from it when Noem came out and was talking about, we believe that this guy was, wanted mass casualties, basically was a mass murderer.
Right.
Then that debate starts instead of the debate about what's actually going on and what should be done.
Right.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. All right, continuing here, looks like Tom Homan is in.
Yeah.
Bovino from the Border Patrol, and Noem, exit stage left. Noem, what they're going to do, the president's going to assign her or have her focus on, I guess, we shall see, but it looks like Homan is completely in charge of what happens in Minneapolis. And look, we understand it from conservatives, many conservatives out there. We understand why people are upset because they look at it and go, but there's a coordinated effort. They actually want, I believe that people like Waltz and Fry want martyrs.
Oh, I think so.
The way that they have egged on and told people what to do, I believe that's what they want. Now, I'm wondering if there's going to be blowback for Waltz saying, well, yeah, because remember, Waltz called the president and said, okay, we've got to temper this thing down a little bit here. If maybe you'll reduce the number of people and we'll start cooperating with you when it comes to illegal immigrant criminals. The left doesn't want to hear that.
Well, my question there was, okay, you mean on the state level, state resources you can speak of, city resources you can't. So when it comes to Minneapolis, major cities, if they're not, if we're talking about budgets, and this is where they get away with or they think they get away with it, we're not going to spend our resources cooperating with ICE. So locally, they may not go along with Waltz. He may have to convince them if they're going to do that. I'll believe it when I see it on the state level to begin with, if that actually happens.
And so we looked before at some of the polling that was done, and we covered the polling way back when, and we had talked about this week and a half ago, probably more times than just a week and a half ago. So look, all the early polls when Trump got in said the majority of people want all illegal immigrants, gone. Now, we know the left doesn't want any gone. They don't want the illegal immigrant criminal gone.
Nope.
They don't want the illegal immigrant that has a deportation order gone.
Right.
And certainly they don't want illegal immigrants that are in the country that don't have a deportation order. They don't want them gone. Matt Walsh wrote this over the weekend and it reminded me of what we talked about last week. He goes, the ICE situation is really complex. My take is more nuanced. I want our immigration laws to be enforced, but I just don't want them to do it. But I just want them to do it without using any force at all, and without anyone getting hurt, and without anything sad or upsetting happening ever. And if people we're trying to deport don't want to be deported, or if liberal activists don't want us to deport them, then obviously in that case we shouldn't do it. but I'm a total conservative on the issue. Unless people get really mad at me, then never mind. Please don't yell. I'm sorry. And but that's the point. What does the anything you do as policy, if it loses public support, politics always matters.
Look,
And
could they put the show Cops on a broadcast network these days?
remember, they took it off.
Well, yeah, it was it was
For a while,
gone.
yeah.
But if you wanted to air that for the first time starting in 2026, that'd be a hard no. And because law enforcement is not pretty. It's interesting. Everybody tunes in for a high-speed police chase. But when you understand what it takes to fully enforce the law, if you're going after, like if you're serving a warrant, if you're just pulling over a car, we've talked about this, in the middle of the night, you don't know what's behind the door. You don't know what's in the car. You don't know where it's going to go. And people get angry all the time. All the videos of the people shouting at the cop on the side of the road. Just take your citation, take it to court if you believe you're in the right. But these people just lose it. Well, we're so far beyond that with these protesters. There is an organized effort here to include violence in order to obstruct law enforcement.
Right.
There is no question about that. There's evidence of that. It doesn't, again, the shootings in Minnesota, case-by-case basis, you break it down, and the investigation needs to be thorough, and there needs to be justice, either to justify the shooting in the case of Miss Good, if that's the case, if it turns out to be the case, or to get to the bottom of what happened with Pretti over the weekend. And again, if a wrongdoing occurred, whatever punishment applies there. This is, what you saw over the weekend is everybody wanted to throw, and it is a big bonfire of an issue, but everybody wants to throw everything on the bonfire, and you have to separate these events from the bigger mission, and then step back and review if your approach to the mission should change, which clearly is what happened with the president. I believe, at least temporarily. I don't know if it's, again, if they're going to end the sweeping patrols by ICE in major cities. I'm not sure if that's going to change, if it's going to be a Homan approach, but only in Minnesota. I don't know.
Well, you can make the case has been made. Why isn't this happening elsewhere? Well, because they're doing it either in other blue states right now in a different way that doesn't have roving agents, which are easier for the agitators to figure out where they are.
Right.
Or you're getting so much cooperation from the red states that it's not a problem. And one of the things that was brought up, it's like, oh my gosh, the number of people that have been, apprehended in Texas, way more than in, way more. And, as it should, you guess it would be just because of the size of the state.
Right, and it's a border state. Yeah.
And it's a border state, and there's been no problem. And, you can make the case that if you cooperate, if the states cooperate, you might not have the exact same problem. And the fact, and the stories have been out there, that Noem and Lewandowski and Stephen Miller wanted the publicity of the roving agents out there going into Home Depot. Mm-hmm. That story came out. We'll see how the administration responds to that. Mm-hmm. But definitely Trump has sidelined them for the rhetoric that turned out to be wrong.
Right.
And so that's why Homan is in there. But there's a question that really has to be asked of the American people, and I don't know what it is right now. I know what the polls said a year ago, and it was slam dunk. Criminal illegal immigrants, they want gone.
Yeah. Right.
You probably can make the case because you have to separate them. And the media has been doing criminal illegal immigrants versus illegal immigrants. Well, it's criminal illegal immigrants with a deportation order, and illegal immigrants in the country that don't have a deportation order yet.
Right.
I believe the first two that Homan is focusing in on is where you can get the vast majority of the people in agreement for that, and then the rest would be accelerating the number increasing the number of immigration judges out there and getting deportation orders, and then doing it that way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look,
that the public would be in favor for, because as we said last week, the public showed last year they want the majority wants all illegal immigrants gone from the country, but we just don't want to see how it's done.
Well, that's it.
That if you really want them, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, if you really want them gone, fast, because that's the other thing. Remember, there was a meeting, a month and a half ago?
Mm-hmm.
We need to show that there's more being deported. We've got to increase the numbers in doing it.
Well, here's the thing. If you're here illegally, you should be deported or you should self-deport. And that option was given to people, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always believed that. I'll always believe that. But beyond that, the political effect of what the public sees is a big deal because it does shape policy.
Yes.
Either through lawmakers or directly through the administration. Because now we've got the funding bill, and where's that going to go in the Senate? You're going to get enough votes to pass it in the Senate? That's going to be a hard thing to do this week. And Schumer's saying, no, the other spending bills, we're going to speed those up. All of them that don't deal with DHS funding, we're going to speed those up. This one, clearly, they're going to sit on. So are we going to get to a point of a shutdown? What happens here? That's a problem long term. Because when all of this settles down and the left, these protesters who are violent, move on to something else or another city or another state or whatever, we're still going to need DHS to be funded. Every day we need them to be funded.
Oh, yeah, of course.
The approach on the mission is the question. And the president clearly, at least temporarily, sees a different approach here, at least, again, in Minnesota. But you can't have this be – the problem is that the court of public opinion driving everything is also dangerous. Because if you rebound too much and you pull back too much, the left thinks they want one, and then you start your new, softer, quieter approach to it, if that's the case, and they're going to, if that's going to be the new approach nationwide, and they start, and the left learns that, they're going to go, the protesters go after that because they think they won. This is getting remember the Republican lawmaker that was cornered in the elevator by the extremists and, by the agitators. And I forget what the vote was. And I forget who it was. It was somebody in Arizona, a senator in Arizona. And he was...
Kissinger?
No. And he changed his vote based on that. It's like the left thinks they won.
It was Kissinger, I think.
Was it? I think it was a... Yeah, I have to look at it. But anyway, that's your problem. Is if they think
Wasn't that I thought it was the Kavanaugh thing. I'm thinking of Kavanaugh. That was Kavanaugh when he was...
I don't know. I think it was on a bill.
Okay.
I don't know if it was confirmation. Okay. But if they think they've won, they're only going to do more of the same. So there's your problem on the rebound.
But the other question is, again, if Noem and Lewinsky and Miller wanted the publicity of it.
Right.
By having,
they want the social media blowing up about it.
They want what was going on.
Right.
And Homan clearly did not. Homan's like, let's deport, but let's not make a spectacle out of it. We've got the border. We've got this. Now let's get to the work of doing it. We don't need to publicize it, and we don't need to get into a war of words on it while the perception to independence, because that's what you have. The reality is you have to sell your conservative message to independents. Once you win the election, you've got to sell it. I'm not saying don't be conservative, but you've got to sell it to the independents.
Yep.
You've got to be able to sell everything, and that's the reality of it. And I don't think that Noem, Lewandowski, or Miller has any, and that's fine. If they wish to, if they wish to appease the base, you can do that, but you see where it's gotten you now. And now it looks like the administration is a complete mess. On this, because the president has just moved in the opposite direction like that.
Yep. It was Jeff Flake being cornered in the elevator.
That's right, Jeff Flake. That's right.
In Arizona.
You're right.
But it's, again, because it's, when they think they get that momentum.
What a flake.
Remember? Yeah, exactly. I know. That's a really horrible name in that setting, certainly. But you look at the momentum for not that they need more momentum, but if they believe they've got the public's backing or more of the public's backing in their position, of course they feel more empowered. They believe they've won. There's a lot to unpack in the shooting of Pretti over the weekend, a lot. And the investigation will show the details. And it's going to start with one agent. The agent that disarmed Pretti. That agent holds the key, quite possibly, to the answer of how it all happened.
Well, he was moving away when the shooting happened.
But the question of whether
the question would be why did the agent that shot, why did he? That's when they're saying if there was a misfire of Pretti's weapon, it happened. The first question you have is for that agent: did Pretti's gun in your hand misfire? Unintentional discharge. Did that happen, yes or no? That's the first question for that agent. Right.
Because
that's right, because he was holding the gun. Right.
The theory is that misfire is what set the other agents off thinking that Pretti himself was shooting a gun. Yep. So you start there.
We are Red Eye Radio.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
USDA's annual Rural America at a Glance report series usually contains a specific topic of focus, along with traditional offerings about population, income, and economics. Tracy Farragut of the Economic Research Service says for this year's edition, debt to income in rural areas is studied, defined as
another measure associated with buying power in an area, similar to income itself.
A look at rural debt to income trends over the 2+ decades indicates
rural areas have consistently had relatively low debt to income ratios, and as measured by the share of rural counties that has low debt to income relative to the share that has high debt to income.
That trend is opposite in urban areas, according to Farragut. The significance to rural residents on a household level or a rural community, greater access to credit to build assets, and greater resiliency against economic shocks. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, let's actually get to the actual shooting of Mr. Pretti and what went on there. And one of the first questions I have, because I saw a few people say, "Well, he was just helping out." Like Helping out. What do you mean
Yeah.
help? I mean,
Yeah.
in a scene like that of chaos, you're helping out. And I just went, and then the woman that he was helping out, who was she? Has anybody identified
Right.
why were they going after her? We don't know the reason for that. We
Right.
don't know the
Right.
reason for that.
Right.
We don't know why the Border Patrol officer started firing, pulled his gun from his holster, and we don't know if the gun, what was it, this Sig Sauer,
P320 is what they
320,
believe it is. Yeah.
which is known to have a very, very light trigger.
Right. Yeah. Did it
and
misfire?
Did it misfire? There's that story.
It's
that
setting
it
off the other
misfired.
agents.
Yeah.
But the question is, was he disarmed? He was disarmed by then, and that's where the big questions come in.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. All right. Let's talk Second Amendment.
All right.
Probably like you in my life, I think I have more Second Amendment awards from being a talk show host from, pro Second Amendment groups than any other award that I've ever received.
Right.
And I've got them in boxes somewhere.
I don't have any awards, but
Yeah, I had
everybody knows my position. Yeah.
Yeah, I had awards and
Right.
When it comes to firearms and the Second Amendment, we're as pro Second Amendment as you can get. But once there's the right, and then there's your responsibility when you exercise that right, and then there's just what's smart.
Yeah.
What's
Right.
the smart thing to do?
Right.
And I know that when I started carrying, your entire mindset changes.
Yep.
At least it did for me.
Yeah.
My mindset, there's no macho thing to it at all. None.
No.
It's
a very heightened awareness.
It's a very heightened awareness of staying out of trouble or any situation where anybody could misconstrue what your intentions are, and knowing that there is that point where you have to pull it, where that's the point of no return.
Right.
And so you want to make sure that you avoid anything that might unnecessarily be misconstrued by anyone out there at any time.
Right. Right.
If I'm going to and by the way, when they said going to a protest, it's not a protest he was going to.
No.
Agitating law enforcement is not a Now,
Right.
again, all of this has nothing to do, and we explain this all the time, the only thing that matters is what happened when the physical confrontation started and how it ended, what happened before or whatever, but we're just talking about some of the arguments that we have heard.
Right. Yeah.
The president came out and said, no, you can bring, you have a Second Amendment right to bring a gun to a protest.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't a protest.
And it's also technically not the question. It's a protest is, because it's, you're right, that wasn't a protest, but the Second Amendment right wasn't the question. The right does exist.
Yes.
The question is it good judgment going into a situation like that to have your gun on you? I'm not going to try and project this onto Pretti. I'm not going to try and project this onto anybody else. I know the choices I make or would make in a situation. I know what I have to be aware of and what my practice would be. Again, I'm not Pretti. I don't know his experience. And I'm not projecting anything onto anyone else, because a lot of people will say, well, no, I would have no problem keeping my gun exactly where it is, where I normally carry it, because I don't know what other threats there might be in that neighborhood aside from those agitators. The threat certainly isn't ICE. It is not law enforcement. We know that.
Right.
And so the question would be, is it good judgment to bring it into a situation where it might be misconstrued if it's revealed you have a weapon and you're not an agent? Yes, you have your right to carry at a protest. That was a heightened situation, and not that he loses his right. The question is, was it good judgment to have that on him when he approached? And also, that question, whatever the answer is, doesn't justify in any way a wrong shooting if it turns out that this through the investigation they find that to be the case.
Right.
He was, we know, I don't think there's any dispute, had been disarmed by the time he was shot.
And all parties agree to that, by the way.
Right.
All parties agree to that. My bringing it up was just the debate that was going on as we saw it.
Exactly.
You know, on social media.
Right.
And I was amazed at the number of gun owners that said exactly what I said, that once you start carrying, there is a heightened self-awareness. You know, you feel it's not a thing of a lot of people, you know, a lot be on the left. Well, it's a macho thing. It's not a macho thing.
No.
It's a being prepared for anything that may happen in life thing, but there's also a tremendous responsibility, just like when you drive a car.
Right.
There's a tremendous responsibility. It's wrong to drive 100 miles an hour when it's 60 miles an hour. That's reckless driving.
Right. Right.
You should be severely punished for doing something like that. It's not a smart move. Cars can kill, as we know. So it's, again, anything when, and I was amazed by the number of people that said, yeah, when I started carrying it wasn't what I thought it was going to be in my mind. Yes, there was a feeling that I'm prepared, but also this huge responsibility that I need to ensure that I don't get into a situation where, you know, that could get out of control and I might make a mistake.
Right. Well, and there's the situation, and we've seen it play out, where a civilian who's lawfully carrying a gun takes out a shooter. At that point, law enforcement is likely already on its way and close to being on the scene. And if you're the lawful gun owner who has just now saved lives by taking out the bad guy, at that point, there is a process, and you understand that what that process is.
Right.
And you can't be, because the mistake would, the potential for law enforcement mistaking you as the bad guy is pretty high.
Yep. You're the one with the gun.
Right. And at that point, I know there was one story, and it happened where the lawful gun owner was in the street. And when he was behind a car, he took out a bad guy. And then as police sirens were approaching, he laid his gun down. He emptied it and laid it down in front of him on the ground safely and put his hands up in the air. And they came over. Of course, they're going to detain you. I'm the guy who shot the bad guy. And then they're going to put you in the back of the squad car. You're going to go through all of that while they figure out what just happened. But you don't want to be holding that weapon. Again, this is just another scenario, but you don't want to be holding a weapon. That you have the First Amendment right, Second Amendment right. You have the Second Amendment right in order, in terms of having that weapon, and you just took advantage of that Second Amendment right. But now there's protocol.
Right. You can't sit there and hold your gun up and say, I shot him and I'm not putting my gun down and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Because I don't know anybody who would celebrate or, woohoo, I did it. And then, they're just,
no, I know.
You're not exactly. A responsible
gun owner
certainly
if you do something
if you're doing that.
You take no,
there is no feeling of glee.
There is no joy in killing someone.
No. Ever. Yeah. And so.
Not even if it's justifiable.
Right.
And I know, he's gone now. He had a lot of trouble, PTSD from Afghanistan, things like that from years ago, but was a police officer, and he killed a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Who pointed a gun. The shooting totally justified.
Right.
And it affected him.
Yeah.
It affected him big time.
Right.
Throughout the rest of his life.
Right.
And it always makes me sad. He used to listen to our show all the time. And when he died in an accident, but he had problems with it.
My father,
big problems.
My father won't go into details. My mom told us the basic gist of it, but my dad deals with PTSD, 2 foreign wars, and I don't know the details. But there were operations, and anytime you have to take another life, there's going to be a great amount of PTSD that's involved there. I had a friend I went to high school with, ended up the head of a SWAT team in his town, and had to take a man out. And he relied on his faith in order to get him through that. Still isn't easy. And those are the things that, you look at this situation. Because if this was the shooting of Pretti was a mistake because a gun misfired, and they thought he was shooting it.
Well, might have misfired.
I'm just saying, and that's why I said if.
Okay.
If they shot him mistakenly thinking he was shooting because they heard the misfire, you're in a heightened situation. Agitators are approaching you, getting in your face, which is how all that started. And you don't know what's going on. And they're yelling gun because it was yelled gun, shot. No one knows what that shot was. But if that was the misfire that set off the other shots that killed Pretti, now those agents are going to have a PTSD that they deal with. And, of course, Pretti's family is dealing with a tremendous amount of grief in this situation. There's nothing positive that comes out of this at all. And the investigation has to be thorough, but it starts with that. They need to find out if that was a misfire, or if not, then why the other agents shot him when he was disarmed. What did they know at that time? Did all the agents that fired realize he had been disarmed? It was a given to me, but it's only from what I see in the video of the one agent disarming him. Are all those other agents aware that he's been fully disarmed? Because you don't know. Does he have a second gun?
Second one, yeah, exactly.
A third gun. You have no idea.
No idea, no. And the first question you have is, why is this guy armed in the middle of the street with us?
Why would he have a gun on him? What was he here for? What was his intention? Because all of the other ICE shootings that we have seen.
Yeah, these are instantaneous decisions you've got to make.
Exactly. And every day you go out and there's a target on you. And you're in that situation.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Fox News reported yesterday that the illegal immigrant that was being sought when Pretti was shot and killed by the Border Patrol had a long rap sheet. Jose Chuma had a long rap sheet, including domestic assault, infliction of bodily harm, or disorderly conduct. So, again, that is something that, whether it'd be interesting to see what the change is going to be with Homan there and what the focus is going to be and where America wants to go. Does America actually want to remove illegal immigrant criminals? Because this isn't about just illegal immigrants. It is the fact that Minneapolis and Minnesota, the government does not want to get rid of criminal illegal immigrants. Mm-hmm. Now, whether Waltz has changed his mind on it and whether Fry agrees with him, because I think they also talked too. Trump and Fry also talked.
Yeah, right. By the way, I did say earlier, I said it's, you can see in the video that Pretti was disarmed, and we know now that he was disarmed before he was shot. Did the agents believe he was disarmed is the question. Because if they believed he might have had another gun. Again,
remember he had the cell phone.
Exactly. And what did they believe in that moment when they fired is the question. So, again, a lot to go through in that investigation.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.